Hello, I'm Colin and I'm with BlocksmithXR. I'll be using the BlocksmithXR Builder to design a 3D castle today for one of our challenges. And we'll be able to see that castle in first person mode, walk around it, possibly even interact with some things like physics or effects. So let's get started. This is a Blocksmith Builder. I'm just going to use a template for this first one, so I'm going to click down here. And I have a few templates to choose from. We'll grab an island. I'm going to use an island for my castle location. Seems like a good spot. Everybody likes hanging out on islands. Just need to wait for this template to load really quick. And then we'll get building. Alright, so I started out here focused on my player. That's the little blue figure. I'm going to zoom out so I can see my whole island. And my first step is really going to be to see where I want to place my castle. I need to find a nice open area. This spot over here looks pretty good. So I'm going to, I'll delete some of these trees first and clear out a spot for my castle. All right. Cool. Now that I have a nice open area, I'm going to add a kind of a flat platform so I have, a nice little area to build on and I'm not having to, get things, balanced on this this kind of sandy bank here, which you can see is kind of a hill. So instead of that, I'll just lay a nice foundation down and I'm going to let's do like a octagon for my foundation. I want some interesting edges in my castle. I don't want it just to be a classic four-sided castle. I'm going to do something new. All right. That looks like a decent foundation. Now, one of the things that I like to do with any object that I add in to the Blocksmith Builder, BlocksmithXR Builder, is apply a material, and there are just tons of materials to choose from. There are artificial ones, metal, rock, all kinds of things. So I'm going to go down to rock and choose a nice kind of rocky castle-like exterior material. And actually, you know what? Since this is kind of a foundation, I'm going to use stone. And I'll change that zoom level a little bit so you can kind of see. You have a lot of customization options for these materials. Nice. And to make it so I can kind of access this quickly, I'm going to find my player. I think they're over here. There they are. I'm just going to drag them over to my castle. So if I want to check this out, like I said in that first person view, I can do that pretty easily. So now when I play, I'll just be starting from right where that blue player is right there. All right, you know what? I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I'm doing a 3D castle. Might as well make it pretty impressive. There we go. And that will require changing up that just a little bit more. Okay, now that I have a nice foundation, I'm going to start adding in some walls, adding in some towers, and that kind of fun stuff. So dragging in a cube here. And it looks pretty basic right now, but once I stretch this out and get it all properly rotated and scaled, we'll have a decent looking wall. All right. Once again, I don't really like that yellow, so I'm going to go back into my rock, and instead of just that kind of simple stone texture, this is actually going to be the walls of my castle. So I'm going to toss that stone bricks in there because that looks pretty castle-like. Looks like it could support some good towers or parapets or whatever you have on castle walls. And I'm gonna make that a little bit lighter as well to offset it from the foundation. You don't want just everything to be the exact same color. All right, I'm gonna follow my walls around now, or excuse me, follow my hexagon. And what I'm doing here, instead of adding a new cube in every time, I'm just hitting the R key, and that duplicates an object, so I can just get the exact same settings, the exact same material that were on that original object. And you can even do that with multiple. hexagon. I'll do one more. Or excuse me, octagon. There we go. Cool. So like I said, yeah, you can duplicate multiple objects. So instead of, placing each one of those cubes over and over again, I can just duplicate the whole thing, which I just did. Now just kind of rotate it till it looks right. That looks pretty good. Nice. Yeah. Rotation's off a little bit, but I want this to look kind of unique, kind of realistic, a little edgy. So I want it to, literally. So I want it to, not be totally perfect and adhere with the lines there. So I'm gonna now, you know what? Let's add a little bit more detail to my walls. It looks like they're just a little boring, so I'll kind of change the colors a little bit. Add some variation to them. Once again, this is using the BlocksmithXR Builder. It's a 3D design tool that's super easy to use. It's free to download on our website, BlocksmithXR.com. We have, Chromebook versions. We have PC and Mac. So whatever device you're using, you can, get this on there for free. Just check it out and download it. All you need is an account. All right, so I've got my kind of exterior walls. Those are looking pretty huge compared to my player. And you know what? I don't actually have an entrance here, so I'm gonna shrink this one down or scale it down. Fix that texture again, duplicate, and this will be the entrance to my castle. We'll just do a nice little kind of vaulted entrance there. I won't try and close it up with a gate or anything. Just make it so you can easily get in. And yeah, there isn't a cutting tool, so I can't like cut a hole into any of these. So what you can do instead is kind of build these shapes on top of one another. So I'm going to do, like I said, kind of like a vaulted archway, or yeah, angular archway. You can always get those details right later. That looks pretty good. And then just duplicate that. Rotate it. Where's that rotation handle? There it is. Back the other way. And now this is a tool that I love using, just one of the most handy tools in the builder. When I press the space bar, I'll see these yellow cubes have appeared, and I can drag those. When I do so, you can kind of see that little ghost appear. That basically means that's where that object's gonna snap to. So we call those snap points. And just stack those on top of one another. You can add some variation with color. Cool. Yeah, so I have kind of like a little arched doorway with my wall, and I'll just, to kind of cover up the top, I'll just add in that. Once again, using those snap points, and drag that down just a little bit so it covers those holes. Cool. Interesting. Yeah, so you may have noticed that I left these little gaps along the edge of my kind of castle exterior here. Those are going to be for some towers that I'll add in now. And I'll use a hexagon for those towers. Once again, change things up a little bit. And also change those up by having a different material. What does that one look? Ooh, that looks nice. All right, some kind of dark towers along my exterior. Cool. And you know what? This tower is all kind of a little short right now, so, or excuse me, the whole castle, or at least compared to my volcano, you can see a little bit shorter than my volcano. So I'm going to select all those objects and stretch them all up just a little bit. You don't want to stretch things too much, or else you can kind of see, that material gets stretched as well. You can always edit that with those zoom materials, or zoom options, but it's just kind of nice to, take that one a little bit carefully. All right. Once again, just go through and duplicate my towers. That one's also looking a little stretched, so I'll go to my advanced zoom options and oops, there we go. Nice. That looks much better. And you know, instead of having just to redo that with my other tower, I'll just delete my original and just use the better one instead. Now I can just, now that I have one of those towers, I can just duplicate, just drop one into each of my empty gaps till I have some towers going around. Cool. All right, so this castle's coming together, but it's looking, you know, it's pretty, I don't know, what's the word, monochromatic, just a little like gray. So I'm gonna add in some different objects here. I'll do a little wooden, you know, I'll do a drawbridge. That sounds kind of fun. So I'm gonna use this for my drawbridge. Kind of, yeah, like that. Make sure that's on the same level. Once again, I can use those snap points. Yeah, it looks like my blocks up here not working out with my drawbridge, so I'm just going to move them back a little bit and move them up a little bit. Just use them for a little bit more decoration rather than like the actual doorway. Now I can actually get that drawbridge in there. Cool. Alright, so apply a wood material for my drawbridge. I think I could do yeah, some nice rough wooden panels there, make it kind of look like it's a little aged, lighten up those materials. And one really cool thing you can do with those snap points, like I mentioned earlier, is use them to change the way that objects rotate. So you can actually see if I just add in a regular cube, if I rotate this, it's just going to rotate around its center axis. But once I've snapped this one, you can see that that red line, that means it's going to rotate around that axis. So I can open and close my drawbridge. I'll leave it open for right now so I can actually get in there. But I just know that I can close that, you know, if I want. You can always do things like animations as well, and we might get to that if I have some time in this stream. I'll see if I can animate that drawbridge to open and close, maybe with like a click of a button or something like that. I think that would be a fun little addition with this castle. But I think one thing I want to do first is just finish off my towers, finish off my walls, and maybe add some stuff in the center of the keep here. So I'm going to go look for something nice to put on the tops of my towers. Use a little, yeah, the square pyramid here. And I like variation, so I'll do, you know, a square pyramid on some, a triangle pyramid on others. And I'll apply, yeah, some of that, some of those wood textures. Be a little weird if the tops of the towers were stone as well. It'd be definitely hard to balance. Let's check that one out. That looks pretty good. I'll do a slightly different thing with this one. Cool. If you like being able to center things, you know, on other objects, once again, those snap points allow you to easily center. So I can just release that, and now that that square pyramid is perfectly centered on that tower. Cool. I won't bother to do that with my other one. But yeah, now I can just kind of go around, duplicate those, center them up a little bit. Looks like I won't have a perfect like overlapping. Alright, cool. Okay. Oh, some of those are, yeah. I always, one thing that I really like doing with 3D design is making sure that it looks good from all angles. You know, as you saw from this angle, it looked like some of those, you know, towers, or tops of those towers were actually centered. But if you swing around, they weren't. So I think, you know, just checking that they look good from every angle is pretty good, because you don't know where your players are going to go. You know, they might end up swimming in the ocean over here or climbing up on top of the volcano. So with 3D design, I think it's just a good practice to you know, just check your angles. Oh, yep, there's another kind of hidden spot. Cool. All right, so I'll add some stuff in the center of my castle here, things to explore. And I'll use some different shapes. I'll use a pentagon. Make these kind of taller than my other towers so they a little bit more prominent. And toss a, this is the center of my castle, so I'll use maybe some fancier tiles. You know, that's where the, I don't know, nobility, I suppose, live. Maybe like a witch or wizard or something. All right, get some variation. And I'll do one other different type of tower. I'll do different sizes with these two. Let's see, I just did a pentagon for those, so I'll use the hexagon again. Hexagon's a good shape, and I've used it a couple times already. Let's see, I want that back tower to be the biggest. That might be a little crazy big, but you know what? Once again, it's 3D design, it's games, so I can kind of make it as wild as I want, and it might look kind of interesting. Nice. I'll test this in the first person mode in a second and make sure these actually do look decent and not wild. Let's do like an orange tower with that one, kind of like a, yeah, orange colored tile. And I'll toss some pyramids on top of these too. Since these are bigger, I'll do a different texture. Instead of that wood, I'll try and do like a straw roof. You know, that kind of makes sense for taller towers. Toss some different colors on those so they look kind of like, you know, they age differently. Maybe some have gotten a little bit more sun than the others. All right, so here's my castle so far. Ooh. I think that looks pretty good. I'm actually going to test this out and see what it looks like in first person mode. So I can enter that player perspective. That's this person again. I'm just going to focus on them. I can basically jump in their shoes by hitting this play button and then play viewer. That enters that first person mode, so let's try that out. Cool. So here's my castle. I can walk around. All these things are collidable, so I can walk up and explore my keep a little bit. You can do things like sprint and jump too. So I could even, you know, put some stairs in here if I wanted to climb my towers, and I could actually run and jump up those. I think that's a decent start. I'll start adding some more, you know, kind of fun details, things like torches. You know, could even add some physics onto some objects so they actually fall over if I hit them. And maybe I'll actually animate this drawbridge. You know, let's do that first. All right, so I'm actually going to close this up. Right about there. And to create an animation on an object, all you have to do is just click on the object you want to animate, and then click on that animation tab. And whoops, wrong way. And now when I rotate that, it will animate down. And I can actually just preview that. You know, I can just test that out really quick by hitting play. Instead of play viewer, I don't want to go to first person right now. I'm gonna hit play scene, and that'll just kind of activate my scene and have everything, you know, that's animated or you know, physics actually happen. So I'm gonna do play scene. Cool. Drawbridge worked. I went pretty quickly though. So I'm actually gonna decrease that. I'll do 3 seconds. I want that to speed up. So I'll do ease in. Let's try that again. Nice. Cool. However, that is basically just going to play whenever I enter the scene. And I want that to, you know, kind of like go knock up on the gate there. I want them to open it for me. So I'm going to go and add an event now. Being able to, you know, program these objects is really easy. All you have to do is just click on Add New Event, and now you have the beginning of a simple little program. Basically, this is just saying, you know, when I click on this object, so when I click on my gate, then the gate will, currently it's doing nothing, but I want it to play into animation. I just got a little warning message that just said, you know, this is now playing when you click on it. You can see that right here, play it trigger. So yeah, let's test that out in first person, just make sure that works. Cool. Gate is shut, and when I click on it, now it opens for me. Sweet. Cool. All right, so now let's see if I can add some of those more fun objects in there. I think, you know, things like effects or physics are pretty cool. So I'm going to add in, my first thing will be a little torch or a series of torches on the outside of my wall. Because, you know what? I'm actually going to set this at night. You know, I've been working in the daytime here, and I just want to, I might keep it, you know, there for editing, because, you know, having a nice, you know, a lot of light is easier for editing, but I just kind of want to see what this looks like when it's set at night. So I'm going to actually increase some of the clouds. Basically, I'm doing this in my scene panel over here. I was using, you know, my object panel earlier, but you can just click on scene and then change some of those scene settings. Kind of want a lot of clouds. And no, I don't want a background. There we go. Lighting, intensity, and then I have this daytime slider right here. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. So this just allows you to change the daytime very easily. There's my moon. I can set it really early in the morning. Feel like a sunset. That looks pretty cool. And I might actually use that for my final scene, but like I said, it's just a bit easier to edit, you know, a scene when there's more light, when it's easier to see. So I'll leave it in daytime for now, and then perhaps drag those back over to, you know, nighttime or morning when I finish this up. Yeah, gonna see, yeah, add in those fire effects. So basically you have just a ton of geometric shapes to choose from, you know, all different types. And we also have effects, you know, lights. You can even add, you know, natural objects, you know, rocks, trees, cliffs, that kind of thing, and people as well, if I want to add in people there. But I'm going to add in fire because I want to make some cool flaming torches. I think the campfire is a pretty good one. Yeah, so we'll start with that, and it's going to be a little bit hard to make that on my wall, so I'm going to make that on the ground here. That tool that I'm using right now basically allows me to stack this. We call it auto stack. You can just put that fire or any object really while holding the shift key, and it just kind of zooms to any surface that your mouse pointer is on, and that's just kind of hold the shift key while dragging that object, and it moves around like that. Alright, so I'm going to focus on my campfire, build a quick little torch with a cylinder, toss a quick wood material in there. Bamboo looks a little funky. Let's do, actually bamboo didn't look bad. Yeah, I like that. Alright, and then add maybe just something for the wick. Whoops, what did I move here? Oh, looks like I just moved the foundation of my castle. Fortunately, I can just undo that. And to prevent that from happening again, there's this pretty handy little setting here called anchored. I can just check that, and now if I try and drag that, it won't move again. So I can focus back on my torch. Let's do I want like a papery or kind of like cloth material, so I'm gonna go cotton looks pretty good. Use that for my torch, and let's increase that flame a little bit. So I'm just scaling that, and that just allows you to have a nice flame. And you know what, that cotton is on fire, so I'm gonna darken that a little bit, make it look like it's actually burning. Cool. So this is something I haven't done yet. Whenever you have like a little, you know, collection of objects that you want to piece together or, you know, group together, you have this group button right over here. So I'm going to click on that, rotate my, there we go, make it a little bit bigger, rotate my torch a little bit. And it's always good practice to actually rename this stuff, so I'm going to rename that torch. And, ooh, I could add a light in there. On mobile devices, you can see this on the BlocksmithXR app. There's a viewer with that too. However, the lighting wouldn't appear there, but I'm actually seeing this on a PC, so I'm going to add in a light just because that looks pretty cool. And I'm going to give that light kind of a reddish color because I'll probably end up doing this at night. And basically what I did is I just entered a group editor so I could just add in objects in my torch pretty easily. Cool. So one torch, duplicate that. You can duplicate groups just like you can duplicate everything else. We'll do a little quick like metal bracket so it doesn't look like my torches are just floating in midair. And let's just move that into the wall. Toss some metal material on there. We'll do like a dark metal. Cool. Nice. All right, have some cool torches to the kind of top or side of my castle, right in front of my drawbridge. And now I'm going to add in some of those objects things that I mentioned earlier, some of those physics objects. And I can turn some of these existing objects into physics objects just by checking a box. So those will, if I like run into them or if something falls into them, they'll actually collapse and fall over now. And I'll use do some physics objects for the top of my wall too. So if something hits the top of my wall, those will actually topple over. I'm going to toss a rock texture on that. And make those pretty big. Once again, duplication is a nice friend there. So I just select those, rotate, select all six, and just kind of, whoops, looks like I grabbed part of my wall instead of one of the blocks. Just delete that really quick. Now, one funny thing with the physics objects is if they are kind of inside like that, inside one another, they'll pretty much explode when you play the scene. I can create a little pile of those just so you can, if you want to see what they look like. But it's generally not a good practice just because it looks weird and things are flying around and you have no idea why. But it is kind of useful to know why you shouldn't stack those physics objects inside one another. There we go. So yeah, you can actually see what happens there. Yeah, so they'll just kind of fly. So that's why you just want to make sure those don't overlap. Cool. Let's see if my top of my wall is actually... Oh, it looks like I'm getting some that are toppling off. It's because I didn't stack them very well. But if they remain an issue, I can just delete them. They were meant to be just, kind of fun anyway. Yeah, they just aren't balanced very well on my wall. Well, I'm coming to the end of my stream. Before I close out, I just wanted to kind of run around this scene one more time. There we go. And just remind you guys that this is made using the BlocksmithXR Builder. It's a free download at BlocksmithXR.com. You can make 3D scenes like this pretty easily. I just made this castle in half an hour. And it's a free download. All you need is that account. And you can just start creating your own 3D games, 3D scenes, taking part in some of the challenges like this one. This challenge was actually a castle versus a cave. So, if I wanted to extend this, maybe I could, build into this cave over here and, create a quick, sweet cave system for the player to explore. I'm just getting ideas right now. I could even make that cave system like lead into my castle, have some kind of secret entrance or exit, for people to run around in. And yeah, just, have fun and, make those 3D projects really easily. So this is just kind of trying to get a nice wide perspective. my castle is pretty much as big as my volcano. You know, that was a very very ambitious architect, whoever put that thing together. And probably not the smartest putting it right next to a live volcano. But anyway, yeah, let's actually play that again. I just hit the P key. That's just a shortcut to play my scene. I can just look at my castle, open my drawbridge. You know what? I'm actually moving really slow right now, so I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to increase, you have a bunch of settings for the player that you can edit. I'm going to increase their speed. Let's go to, I'll go to 8 for them. You know, one thing, fun thing that's always pretty wild is, you know, putting that at 800 and 1000, and you can see some really interesting effects, but, you know, you'll just fly off the edge of the map, so I don't want to do that, so I just did, you know, just a couple small settings. All right, there we go. Now I'm moving faster. There we go. Jump in my castle, my jump stronger. Woo! Darn, I want to push those blocks over. You know, I think there's, yeah, I think there's a 3D shape that could work as a staircase type thing, like a pyramid. Yeah, there we go. A little quick staircase. Make sure, whoop, that's poking out the other end. And yeah, kind of shove that up against my castle wall. I know, that's a very impromptu staircase, but I'm running a little low on time on my stream, so I'm just going to toss that in there. Yep, staircase is popping out the side of my castle wall. Alright, yeah, let's jump up on my walls here and wreak havoc on my little pillars. Woo! So yeah, if I run into those, it'll shove them over. You know, that would be a great setup for if you're ever doing like a castle defense game and you want to shove blocks on players. You know, the great thing with the Blocksmith Builder is it's so powerful. You can program basically anything, so you can even do it so, you know, if the blocks fall on players, it applies damage. You could, you know, set up some kind of like tower defense game situation, you know, where you have to try and reach the inside of the castle and there are things falling on you. So yeah, there's a lot of ways I could kind of take this castle project. But for right now, I'm going to call this good. I hope you all enjoyed watching my stream. Once again, my name's Colin. This is using the BlocksmithXR Builder. Free download at BlocksmithXR.com. Check it out. It's very cool. And I'll see you all next time for a stream. All right. Take care.